The Lead. Sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Greg Tinker, your host for The Lead, and we're honored to have 7A state champion coach Scott Ware, the head coach at Hoover High School over in Birmingham. Scott, welcome to the set.
So glad to be here. I mean, it's good to be back home.
Yeah, you are back home, so let's talk about that. You're a Walker County boy and grew up in the metropolis of Sipsey.
Absolutely.
Kind of talk about that, living in that community, growing up in that school. I'm guessing you went first grade all the way through ninth.
I did. Well, it was through eighth. And then, we went, at that time, they'd cut it off so that when you got to the ninth grade, you got to choose, and it was kind of where we were located. You could go to three different high schools. You could go to, actually four. You could go to Cordova, Dora, Curry, or Walker. Mm-hmm. There was actually buses that ran, so it was kind of, we all grew up together, and we, the group of guys I grew up with, we were very, very competitive, and like, especially our youth league baseball team, we're very, very successful. And we get to that point, and a lot of us separate. Two or three guys went to Curry, two or three guys went to Dora, some of us went to Walker, and it was great growing up there. Just saw something the other day where they're taking the old school down, and that was kind of hit me, a little bit. And,
yeah.
But enjoyed my time there, and came to Walker, and kind of a big step from small Sipsey to Walker, and kind of working my way in, trying to make the adjustment once I got there. So, but I loved my time and my youth growing up there in Sipsey, Alabama. So.
Well, you go from a place that's a close-knit community, because it really was, everything revolved around the school, and that was throughout the year, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Summer league baseball, you had your own field there at Sipsey, and so you play there, and then you come to town. And so for those of us who grew up in really small communities, Walker seemed huge.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure it did to you as well.
Absolutely. You're walking those small halls of Sipsey Junior High, elementary / whatever, and there's only one or two halls, and you get to Walker High School, and you're like, whoa, this is a big old place, But at the time, the guys that I came in with, and I still got a lot of those friends, and everybody kind of just took us in, and because that was kind of they knew people were coming in, because you had guys coming from the Boldo community and Valley, and so from Townley, and it was just different at that time than it is now. So a lot of people don't remember that time, but when we got to kind of choose where we went to school, so it was good.
So when you arrived on campus at Walker, basketball obviously was one of your interests.
Yeah.
Did you play other sports as you were coming through?
I did. I'd never played football, but I played football my ninth grade year and went out. I was going to plan to play in my 10th grade year, and I got injured both times that I was playing. I didn't get to play much as a ninth grader. Kind of blew my knee out, come back, and I was going to try it again, and got injured again. And just, one of my goals was always to try to play some kind of sports in college. That's one of the things that I wanted to do. And I played some basketball at Walker High School, but I kind of gravitated towards golf. And I actually got to play at Walker College, played a couple of years of college golf at Walker College. And, that's kind of the way I gravitated as far as my, my best route to get to college. Mm-hmm. But I've always had that love for the game of basketball. I mean, it's just, I teach driver's ed now, and some kids were talking earlier today, and they were saying something about, I don't even watch basketball. I said, dude, you're missing out. It's the greatest game on earth, in my opinion. But I always knew I wanted to be involved with it in some way.
So after graduating and going to Walker College, did you know kind of immediately that you wanted to enter education and coaching, or did that sort of happen somewhere in those first, a lot of us made decisions in the first couple of years to go a different direction than maybe what we had thought.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to be a dentist, and chemistry and Scott Ware just did not get along.
Sure.
And so that route kind of ended quickly, and I jump in, and I thought, well, maybe I'll be an accountant or something like that, make a lot of money, and have some time off where you can play a lot of golf, and it just didn't feel right, and it just kept pulling me back in. And I was at Walker College, and Coach Clem and then would be in the gym, and I would go by and sit and watch practice, and it just kind of kept drawing me in, and I knew that's what I really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
you went on after Walker College to...
Yeah, I went to UAB for 1 year, and then I went to Alabama to finish up. Huge Alabama fan to this day, and enjoyed my time there. And so I get out of school. I actually finished in December, and I get a call like 3 or 4 days before I'm going to graduate in December from Ray Tidwell at Oakman, and they needed someone to fill in for someone for the rest of the school year and jump in and help with basketball. So I graduated on like a Thursday, and on Friday morning I'm teaching school at Oakman High School, and I jump in with Sammy McGee, and I'm helping him coach basketball. And so that was really good for me. It got my feet wet, got me right in there, and then Junior Smith was assistant here coaching football at Walker High School, and he'd coached my brother. And so he had taken the head job at Escambia County, and he wanted me to go with him. And so, boom, immediately, I jumped right in. I got a job, and so that's where I got started.
Spent how long down in Escambia County?
Yeah, I was there for 3 years. I actually started the middle school football program. They had always had, like they called them like the junior Blue Devils or whatever, but it was like 7th, 8th, and 9th all played together.
Mm-hmm.
But they had the middle school, and so he wanted me to start the middle school football program, and I did. So I got it up and got it going for 1 year, and then I moved to the high school to coach varsity football, and I was the assistant basketball coach. And I was kind of on a fast track with football. And I never really played a lot of football, but I grew up loving sports, and so when I left there after 3 years, I was going to interview at Charles Henderson for the offensive coordinator's job at Charles Henderson, and the coach offered me the job when I walked out. I walked out and headed to the car, and I get a phone call from Pat Morrison, and he said, "Do you want to come home?" And I never really thought about it. And so I called the coach and I said, I'm going to go up here to Jasper, and I'm going to interview, and I'm going to see what goes on there, and then I'll let you know, but more likely I'm going to take the job. And so when I came here and talked with Pat, it just, it felt right. And so I was on the football staff, I was the head golf coach, and I was also this JV basketball coach. So it was a good opportunity for me, and it all worked out where eventually I got to be the head basketball coach here for 10 years, and so good for me, and I learned so much during that time. So
you spent altogether how many years at Walker High?
Yeah, I was here for 13 years. 10 as the head basketball coach, and it's funny, the head coach that I worked with at Escambia County, he told me, it's like, it's hard to stay somewhere in this business for a long time, and so I'm basically 27 years in now, but I've only been at 4 schools. So that's not the case with a lot of people. They bounce around and move around. But I spent those 10 years here at Walker, but he told me, he's like, once you've been somewhere 10 years, you've probably made more people mad at you than you've made happy with you.
Right.
And so, it was getting time for me to move on after those 10 years. We had a lot of success with the basketball program. Just love those guys that I had the opportunity to coach while I was here. Still got a lot of contact. They call me, and I get texts all the time. And 2 or 3 of those guys are now head basketball coaches. So I'm proud of that.
Sure.
So after that, I was going to go, and I thought about moving on to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I interviewed at Wallace with John Meeks, and I walk out, he offers me the job. It's kind of the same thing as the situation. It's like divine intervention from our good Lord. He knows what he wants for me.
Sure.
And I was going to take the job there. It was perfect. I was going to still be able to teach here in Jasper. My kids were here. They could live here. I could still grow up, still go to school here, and I wasn't even going to have to recruit. It was just on-floor coaching. And I'm literally walking to my car, and I get a phone call from Charles Burkhead. And Charles and I had kind of formed a relationship and friendship, and we played against each other 2 or 3 times. He's at Hoover, I'm at Walker, and We'd participated in the Big Orange, the big tournament we have over there, and we kind of kidded around a couple times. But he's like, well, you ever get tired over there, come over here. And I never really was serious about it. We was just kidding around about it, and he said, well, I got a job for you and I need you. And so, I told him, I said, Coach, I'm fixing to take a job here at Wallace and I'm going to try something different, And so I said, give me a couple of days. So I told Coach Meeks, give me a couple of days. And it's funny, over those 2 days, there was no doubt where I needed to go.
Sure.
And that was accept the job at Hoover, as an assistant. So.
Well, and so that gets you moving from a head coaching position, and we discussed that you arrived at Hoover the last year that 6A was a thing across the state. So you go from being a head coach for 10 years. So what was the adjustment like now? You'd been an assistant before, but to come back and be an assistant coach, albeit if you want to look at it as a step up to a certain extent because of the stature of Hoover, but still, you go from making all the decisions now to you're, if you will, a subordinate. So what was that adjustment like?
It was actually great for me. I jumped in as I was just turning 30 years old when I got the head basketball job at Walker. And you're young and you're gung-ho and you think you know everything. And, and I did. I would push the guys. And I felt like we played a good brand of basketball. But, over that time, I needed to step back. Mm-hmm. And when I got to Hoover, just stepping back into that position where, as the assistant, you're basically, with Charles, all I had to do was coach. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm not bringing you here to be a clipboard guy. I'm going to let you coach. Mm-hmm. And I coached. And a lot of times we go to timeouts and I'm doing the coaching in the timeout and he's standing over here. And so I thank him so much for that. But you didn't have to deal with all that, like you said, the stuff that the head coach has to deal with. All you had to do was worry about focus on coaching. And so that was really good for me and kind of relit my fire. And, and as the assistant and being a head coach for 10 years, and I know he appreciates this, he's told me this, I tried to kill things and stop things and be that intermediate guy between him and the locker room. So he wouldn't have to deal with it because I knew what was coming. As the head coach goes, you've seen it. So you try to cut all that off before it happened. And so we had some really, really good years, those 7 years, and I'll be honest with you, I turned down jobs. I didn't even turn down interviews. I was totally content with being Charles Burkett's assistant until I retired at Hoover High School. Mm-hmm. I was fine with that. And I didn't think he was going anywhere. He was being, we were ultra successful. Like you said, the second year I was there, first ever 7A state championship. We win the state championship. We go back the very next year. We were in the regional finals 2 or 3 more years in a row after that, fighting tooth and nail to get back there. And we get back in 2019. So, ultra successful as an assistant and him being the head coach and what we had going. And I was totally satisfied with that. I was loving what I was doing and had no intentions of, ever trying to be a head coach again. Like I said, I turned down interviews. I wouldn't even go. Mm-hmm. And he called me in there in the spring. He's like, I think I'm going to take the job at Athens. And I said, well, and he told me the deal. And I said, yeah, you need to take it for that. Mm-hmm. He goes, and I'm going to tell him you need to be the basketball coach here. He said, well, whatever that's worth, and I said, well, if that works out, it works out. And if it doesn't, if they bring somebody else in here, I'm totally satisfied with being the back and just being a teacher here. I love it here. Mm-hmm. And I left it at that. And so he did take the job. I go in and meet with the athletic director and say, look, do I need to be looking for jobs? Because I'm not working for anybody else, Mm-hmm. And he looks at me dead in the eye and he says, why would we look anywhere else when we got the guy we want right here? So, it just kind of worked out. Mm-hmm. So I'm blessed to be where I'm at, and I know that. Mm-hmm.
So you win the state championship last year as the head coach. So you've got one as an assistant, now as the head coach. Did you kind of know when Coach Burkett left that he was the talent you had that was there already, and you could kind of foresee? You've been around it long enough now. Coaches can size things up pretty quickly, and you know the group you've got. Did you kind of know, hey, we've got the kids, if everything falls into place, we can do this?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we had a really good group that my very first year. I mean, we made it, and that's when Oak Mountain won the state championship that year. We were in the area with them, and we split with them. We played them 4 times. We beat them twice. They beat us twice. They just happened to win the one at Wallace that lets you move on. And we had a really, really good basketball team with that group, and thought we had a chance there. But we knew, Charles and I both at the time, because we knew there was this group of 7th graders and 8th graders coming up that, I mean, they're ultra talented, and that's these kids. And, I know that weighed on him to leave.
Sure.
And so I knew what was coming. And, we had that first group, and then the second year, those guys step in as freshmen. And that's unheard of at Hoover High School. Like all the other time I was there, we didn't have a freshman even think about playing varsity. I had 3 playing on the varsity. Probably could have been starters as freshmen, but you try to bring them along. Sure. And you try to keep that continuity with the older guys. Don't want them, And we had a really good season. We went 21-9 and just had a horrible second half against Thompson. I mean, I think that team, even when they were freshmen, I think we really had a shot. But I knew coming back the next year that we really, really had a shot. We had a kid move in from Orlando. Just out of the blue, I get a phone call. His dad's working for the squadron, and he's a 6'7" wing player that just kind of took us over the top. I mean, if you watched us play, John was incredible for us. He's at Sanford now, and just this past season was, I could still be, as a coach, you have those teams and you push them and you work. But sometimes when it gets towards the end, you're like, I want to win, but if I don't win this game, I kind of need a break.
Right.
I don't ever need a break from that team last year. I could coach them every day.
Sure.
They're just that special of a group. You got 4 guys that were on that team. 3 of them's playing college basketball. The one that's not could have played Division III basketball. He had some looks. He's going to be a doctor. And now we got the other 6 guys back this year. So I actually got them for 2 more years. They're all juniors, so I'm in a blessed spot.
So you're looking at hopefully a 3-peat maybe.
Well, no, we don't want to go throwing that word out there. That was one of the first things that going into this, we took some time off. We come back in, and I said, there's a couple things I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear repeat. I don't want to hear any of that because it's a brand new season.
Sure, absolutely.
We've got the trophies both displayed right there, right close to the locker room, right where you can see them from the floor, and I point to them all the time. I'm like, look, they're not coming to take that one back. That one's always here. Now we're playing for a new one. And so that's kind of been our message, that we don't want to get complacent. We don't want to try to, those 2 trophies have nothing to do with this basketball team.
Well, and you have more of a target on your back too, right? And it's the Birmingham basketball, I think everybody knows, ultra competitive, especially in that region you're in. So you got so many schools so close together, and those kids know each other, and they talk all summer long, and now with social media they're able to communicate all the time. So I know you got this stuff going on all the time, and everybody's out to get Hoover, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that's what we say. We tell them all the time, when you put that jersey on, you're a marked man. And now when you win a state championship and you put that jersey on, now you got a target on the front and on the back. So they're always coming at you. Everybody's got that game circled, and our guys accept that for the most part. We had a good practice this morning. Like, we had some college coaches in, and they were like, Coach, I can't believe the intensity y'all practicing with. But when you've got 5 on one side and 5 on the other that can push each other every day, it can be that way, and that's kind of what we're blessed with right now.
Well, and as a coach, you know this too, because you've done it long enough to know that really good players make you a lot better coach.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. I'm a really good coach right now. I've got basically 3 guys that have probably come close to playing some SEC-style basketball. Yeah. So I've all of a sudden become a really, really good basketball coach. So.
Yeah, I remember Bill Parcells so many years ago when he turned the Patriots around, and they were interviewing, and they said, Coach Parcells, what's your secret? How did you do this? He said, well, you want to know the secret? He said, get good players.
Absolutely.
So,
that's right.
And it's great when you can have somebody 6'7" move in, right? That
absolutely.
Get one of those guys in there.
Yeah, to go with a 6'9" kid that's got multiple, offers as a freshman. He was a freshman, he's had multiple SEC offers as a freshman. So, yeah, I'm blessed with talent, and I know it. And I'll say this about those kids. Not just that they're blessed athletically, they're incredible kids.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible kids to be around every
Well,
day.
and the truth is, not everybody can coach talent, because once you get that kind of talent in, then, chemistry is a deal once you've got a lot of guys with a lot of ability who want to be one of those five
Oh, yeah,
that's starting
absolutely.
and playing most of the time and keeping everybody else kind of content and accepting their role. So, you can also say on the flip side of that, sometimes the curse of too much talent. So, it does take, and I guess that's one of the advantages of 27 years later of having some wisdom of knowing how to do
Oh
that.
God, yes. I mean, if I had this group when I was first starting out, it would be a struggle, because we talk all the time about, I've got three guys that are really, really, really talented. They could all average 20 plus points a game. I mean, if not more. Like, they're that kind of talent, but they all give up themselves up for the betterment of the team. Like, I think Dwayne and Celine both were around 15 points a game last year. Jarrett was around 10. Like, they could all be more than that.
Mhm.
But for the betterment as a team and for our program, they give up points and they give up opportunities so that we can be successful as a team. And so we try to talk about that all the time. And, one of the things we really pushed was, it's amazing the things you can do when it doesn't matter who gets the credit.
Sure.
And, some of the games last year, it just went right along with that so much. We preached that to them all the time. Like, we beat Vestavia. They beat us twice last year, and we beat them in the regional final, and it was a pretty good beatdown. And the guys were pumped, and but one of my best players, Salim London, he only had like 4 points in that game. So he wasn't invited to go in with the press conference and all that. But when you go back and you look at his stat line, he had 4 points, but he had 9 rebounds. He had 7 assists. He had like 6 steals. He 3 or 4 deflections, block shots. You know what I'm saying? And
Sure.
so because they weren't going to let him beat them by himself, so he gave himself up, and he for the betterment of the team, and they just bought into that, and it was really incredible, and it's just it was fun to see. It's fun to watch.
Well, and it's fun for them too to learn that right as young men, that when you do things together, you can have better success than on your own.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny that my one of them was talking the other day, and they were saying, "Yeah, man, we could do this and we could do that, but we give it up so that we're playing much longer in the season than some of these other guys who are trying to get these individual awards." So they kind of see it, and hopefully it'll stay. That's the hard part when you
Sure.
got talent. It's more
Sure.
mental coaching sometimes than it is actual physical, because they can handle the
Absolutely.
physical when they get out there. So.
Well, I don't know if, thinking back now, going all the way back to Sipsey, did you ever imagine when you're running around Sipsey, Alabama, that you'd one day be at one of the largest high schools in the state and you'd have a state championship trophy? What's that been like?
Yeah, it's surreal. I mean, I remember playing out in the driveway and playing by myself, because you're in Sipsey, you got people live so far apart. You're not like these little communities where there was a lot of kids and we'd get together and play, but you're out there a lot of times and you have these big imaginations and you're out there and you're playing. And I'd have never dreamed that I'd be the head basketball coach at Hoover High School. Just surreal to do that. And like, when I walk out, that now the thing is they don't want the players to run out there, so the coach goes to get the trophy. So when I grab the trophy and I turn to give it to the guys, just the thoughts that come to your head, that it's not that actually that moment. You're thinking about all the other stuff that you've done to get to that moment,
Right.
and all the other people that kind of were there with you and helped you to get to that point. And so it's just it was really special. So.
Yeah. Well, so across the years, you've learned some things pretty obviously that has become the core of who you are as a person, as a coach. So if you had to distill that in, I know you could talk about this for an hour or two,
Right.
but if you could distill that into 2 or 3 phrases, who is Coach Scott Ware when he's trying to get across to his team, this is who I am, this is what we're about? Who is that man?
Yeah,
now?
there's a couple of things that we push, daily and weekly. Like one thing in our program we preach is toughness. We're going to be tough. And that's going to go with you outside, because things are always going to be tough in your life. You got to be tough. You got to be willing to be hard-nosed and tough. So we preach toughness and we preach together. Those two things, we're all the time preaching that and pushing that. And then, this is on our wall right outside of our locker room. And I've said it since I started. We want to play hard, we want to play smart, and we want to have fun. That's what it's all about. So.
Sure. Well, and one more thing, and then we'll have you sign the poster behind you. But, again, thinking back, you said you've always been an Alabama fan, still are. And now in the position you're in, you're getting to meet these head basketball coaches from all over the country. Did you ever think you'd be able to sit down across from Nate Oates or you name it, whomever, because they're coming to Hoover to see the kids that you've got, that affords you the opportunity then, because you've got talented kids and these college coaches want them. What's that like, just to be able now, Scott Ware from Sipsey, Alabama, sitting with Nate Oates or whomever, Bruce Pearl, and you're having these one-on-one conversations?
It's funny, Bruce was by last week, and it's just a funny little story on him right quick, and the Auburn fans will get this for sure, is I met him out front, and a lot of the assistant coaches come. They don't care if you take them through the front because nobody really knows. But you get a head coach there, sometimes some of them want to come in the side door.
Sure.
I met him out front, and I said, Coach, you want to go through the side door or you want to go through the front? He kind of winked at me. He said, Coach, let's go make some noise. So, he goes in and takes pictures. But, it's been great. I mean, and the thing about it, those guys are just everyday, down to earth, just like me and you. They're the same, and they're just in the position they're in. They're really good at what they do, and it's been a blessing to me to get to know some of them, talk with some of them, and just to see that some of the things that we do are the right things, what they do, and just proud of the position I'm in, and just hope that that I'm doing it justice.
Sure.
So.
Well, I think that you are. And so we want you to sign the poster, and please make sure you put on there state champs in 2022. And we're hoping for a same thing in 2020. Well, that was 2023, wasn't it?
It was.
2024 as well. Well, Coach Ware, I've had the blessing of knowing you for a long time. I think I was actually coaching junior high when you played, and so coached against you when you were playing at Sipsey, and y'all had some good teams then. I think y'all actually beat us back in the day.
We did, 7th grade.
Yeah.
I got us back in 8th.
So, you know how that goes. But I just got to tell you, you have made us, we were proud of you before when you were here in the system and coaching at Walker and doing such a great job with our program then. But, to have someone grow up in Walker County and to go represent us so well next door in Jefferson County at Hoover High School and win a state championship. And not just that, but the class and the character with which you do those kinds of things. And for those young men there to have the opportunity to be coached by you, and knowing your mom and dad and your brother and your wife and kids, I know how proud everybody is of you for what you've accomplished. And for you to do that in a way that reflects well on us, because I think that, sometimes here in Walker County, we have a bit of a reputation to overcome.
Oh, absolutely.
So for you to go out and represent us well, we're proud of that, but we're just so proud of you and what you've been able to accomplish.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been blessed, like you said, with incredible parents and just people in my life that's got me to this point, and just humble and grateful.
Yeah. Well, we know you're going to keep working hard. We will watch this season with great interest. And we're hoping, since we're 5A, we're hoping you win another state championship, 7A, and we'll be cheering you on all the way.
I certainly appreciate it.
Well, this is Greg Tinker for Coach Scott Ware and The Lead saying good afternoon.
The Lead, sponsored by Lavish Boutique, Lavish Coffee, Jasper Veterinary Clinic, Jasper Bone and Joint, and Carl Cannon Chevrolet Buick GMC.